This episode should not be used as a substitute for medical or mental health advice. Individuals are advised to seek independent medical advice, counseling, and/or therapy from a healthcare professional with respect to any medical condition, mental health issue, or health inquiry, including matters discussed on this episode.
Hey, good people. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. This is Fresh Hope Today, and I'm Dr. Lakeba Williams.
And I am Lauren Williams.
And so today we're going to be talking about conflict. Yes. This is a very important topic, and we thought to bring it up because conflict in relationships is inevitable.
Right.
I mean, it's going to happen.
Right.
And if you're out there and you feel like, I'm averse to conflict, it's not something that I'm comfortable with. I tend to sweep it under the rug. If you know somebody that operates like that, go ahead and click share. Go ahead and share this video with them, because today we're going to be talking about wisdom as it pertains to dealing with the conflict that is going to exist. Now, Lauren and I were talking as we were preparing. Conflict is inevitable.
Absolutely.
And there's interpersonal conflict, which is what we'll be talking about today. And then sometimes we just have conflict with ourselves. Sometimes we walk up, to the closet and we're like, no, I'm gonna wear this today.
Right.
And then we look at it and we're like,
right.
No, I ain't feeling that today.
Right.
I think I'm gonna wear something else. So there's a little conflict going on there.
Absolutely.
And we resolve it and it's cool. It gets a little bit trickier though when it's with someone else.
Right.
And so what is conflict? We want to start with the knowledge related to conflict. Lauren,
Absolutely.
what you got?
Yeah, we got our jerseys on today.
Yes, we repping the ATL.
I don't know what day it is. It's Sunday here as we're recording, so we know the Falcons are playing.
Yeah.
Mom has on her Atlanta
next
United.
Sunday, Atlanta United is playing next Sunday here. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive in, you guys. We're just going to start. We always talk about the knowledge. We always want to start with the knowledge. So we want to kind of break down what we're talking about, which is conflict. So conflict is a term that refers to a situation or situations in which two or more sides appear to be pulling or pushing in opposing directions. So they're going in opposing directions, which causes the conflict, right? If they were going in the same direction, there would be no conflict.
Right.
So we thought it'd be fitting to just give examples of conflict. As you're listening to this, you're probably thinking about conflicts that you've been in, or conflicts that you're in right now. And hopefully our hope from this is you get the wisdom on how to navigate the conflicts that you're going through. So some of the conflicts that I was thinking about as we were preparing for this video for you today were just familial conflicts, right? Sometimes those can be really touchy because they're people that you love and that you care about. And sometimes it's hard to navigate uncomfortable spaces, difficult spaces with people that you want to protect and that you don't want to hurt and that you want to love properly. And that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes it, results in us sweeping things under the rug or blowing up and not being able to really get to the resolve or the resolution that we're looking for. So familial, that can be, your siblings, your parents, your partner, your children, just people that you typically do life with, and they see you in a certain way. And it sometimes I think, what do you think? I think that can make it even more difficult.
I think so.
There's a lot of weight on it, right?
It's history.
Yeah. Talk about that history.
It's got some time and some experiences, right?
And some expectations.
Oh, come on, somebody.
Right.
Which makes it complicated.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, when we were thinking about this, what came to mind for me is conflict in our intimate relationships.
Talk about that.
And that is challenging because there's passion and expectations. I say all the time, you've heard me in this platform say it, adult relationships are principally about managing your expectations. However, most of us, if not all of us, are void of that skill that I think we have in those intimate relationships of mind reading. So since nobody can read minds, right? We kind of right. We kind of call me.
Yeah.
Call me. Right. We kind of need to talk about it.
Right.
Try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So we could talk about it and deal with it and that kind of thing. And
Right.
so if people are expecting in the intimate relationships,
Right.
you know, the mind reading and the fortune telling. I don't
Right.
know if you've been to NOLA on Bourbon Street and got your palm read or, you know, your cards, you know, a reading. I don't know that, whatever that is. But if you have, I mean, is it real?
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna date myself, or is it Memorex? I mean, that's the cassette tapes we used to use.
Okay.
Is it real? Is it, you know, I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, it's more authentic if we're talking about it and we're working through it. And in the intimate relationships, I think another thing that comes up and it kind of bites us is this idea that we're going to deal with it.
We're gonna be there.
And and it's gonna be gone. We're gonna deal with it, and we're gonna work through it.
Yeah.
We're gonna work through it, and we're gonna get it, and it's done.
Yeah.
And so, what the Gottmans, John Gottman and his wife, learned in their research of intimate relationships that have high conflict is that some of these things are just going to be what's called perpetual issues. And so that conflict, sweet, sweet, dear one, beloved, beloved, ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a different history,
Right.
background, and previous relationship experiences that kind of lend themselves to seeing the world in a certain kind of way. And so, what do you do with that?
Right.
That's what we want to talk about today.
I think you hit on something just now. We talked about the fact that conflict is inevitable, but I think sometimes it is lost on us that conflict in intimate relationships, in personal relationships, in familial relationships, in friendships is also inevitable. So we will kind of want to just hold space for that, right? Like it's okay, it's healthy. Now the level of conflict, the cadence of conflict, now those things can be questionable if it's healthy or not. If
You mean it's okay to be angry with somebody that you love?
it's okay.
We learned that last week.
Yeah.
That's a part of the personal Bill of Rights. So it's okay to be angry with someone that you love. If you're in a relationship with someone that doesn't hold space for your anger or for your feelings, or let's get closer to home. If you don't hold space for your anger,
You're doing the sweeping
oh, come on,
under the
somebody.
rug.
We want to encourage you, unpack that.
Yeah.
You know, with a therapist or a life coach or a mentor. A lot of times when we've experienced childhood trauma and abuse, we don't even feel comfortable with anger.
Yeah.
We tend to have anger come up and we'll laugh.
Yeah.
Maybe you're out there and you've been in a situation and somebody came for you and you just started, you know, that nervous laughter. You know what I'm talking about? You know, he said, and it ain't funny.
Yeah, it's not funny at all. Right.
But that's what came up for you. Perhaps that is, and most often that's because you weren't allowed as a child to be angry. And so...
Or anger was deemed, you know, unacceptable. It was an emotion that,
it wasn't
you know,
allowed.
it wasn't allowed. Yeah, it's almost like anger's bad. Right? Anger, if you get angry with somebody, if you feel the emotion of anger, then you're doing something wrong.
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good or the bad. And so unpack that, because the full length and breadth of the human emotional experience is for you and for me and for Lauren, right? That's a part of being human. So it's not what you feel, it's how you feel it. And then how you express it.
Right. And anger is also an indicator that something's wrong. Right? So you sit with that, unpack that, recognize, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we kind of get into how to resolve conflict. But just recognizing the emotion and first sitting with yourself and saying, what's going on with me right now? What do I feel? And kind of like what you said, Mom, it'll take you back to, you'll be able to identify that PTSD or that trauma. This reminds me of somewhere that I've been. This reminds me of a situation that I've been in. And then first you can address yourself before you get into
that's
conflict
when you do the
resolution.
work.
Right.
When you do the work, you're able to recognize it. But if you haven't done the work, that thing is going to volcano and you'll leave disappointment and hurt feelings and broken relationships in your wake. And so that's why this is a serious matter tonight. Okay, it's a serious matter. And that's why we want to kick some knowledge. So Lauren, you got some knowledge for us tonight.
I do, absolutely. So
Talk to us.
let's get into that. So we talked about the definition of conflict. So that was the knowledge. We also gave examples of conflict, which was the knowledge. And so now we're gonna get into. I'm swing back to you. We're gonna get into understanding.
Yeah, you know, I wanted us to talk about the American Association, the Psychological Association's definition of conflict.
Okay.
Because it really kind of gets to the meat of what we want to share. It's the occurrence of mutually antagonistic or opposing forces, including the events, the behaviors, the desires, the attitudes, and the emotions. So it's nuance. It's a lot going on, right? And this general term, it kind of comes out and we're like, okay, so this is opposing forces, is dealing with what I want, what the other person wants, behaviors, the behaviors, what they're doing, what I'm doing, the events, my recollection of it and their recollection of it.
Yeah.
It's usually different.
Oh, yeah.
And that's normal, right? And sometimes gaslighting has been a term that's out there now. People say, well, you're gaslighting me. Well, gaslighting, I think we kind of get the definition twisted. That other person is going to have their recollection of it too. Now, if they're saying your feelings aren't valid, you're being gaslighted.
Right.
Okay.
That's the difference.
However.
Right. So it's okay for somebody to have a different, recall a situation completely different from the way you did.
You remember the show The Affair on Showtime?
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
Okay, so that's a plug for that. So that was my show back in the day, because they would show a 30-minute segment, and about 15 minutes was from the husband's point of view, and about 15 minutes was from the wife's point of view. And in the 15 minutes that the husband was telling his side of it, the picture was going, and she had on a yellow dress. And the woman, when she was, her recollection of the event, she had on a blue dress. So what we're saying is, you're going to have your perspective of it. It is valid.
So you mean if I come to you and we're resolving conflict, and I say, that's not how I remember it. I remember it this way. You shouldn't be offended.
I will say to you, well, thank you for sharing
Right.
Sharing that with me. I can hold space for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't take offense. You hold space for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm allowed to have my own recollection of what happened in the event or whatever conflict we're resolving in the moment.
As am I.
Right.
And that's what we want to offer tonight.
Right.
That when you create a safe space in your relationships, and you have a positive mental image of the person that you're in relationship with, and you don't attribute wrong motives. We kick in some knowledge tonight. You're creating fertile ground for managing your conflicts. Some of those may be perpetual issues that won't go away, and yet you can do something about it. And so the types of conflict, we just kicked the knowledge, but the types of conflict is where we want to give you some understanding, because every episode we want to really craft this beautiful picture of the interplay of it, and the knowledge comes on the scene. In order to apply that knowledge, we want to give you some understanding.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off of what we just talked about with the different perspectives, it's kind of like the old saying, you know, you'll find the truth somewhere in the middle. If I was wearing a blue dress, in my recollection, you were wearing a yellow dress. It probably was purple, right? The truth is somewhere in the middle, and we'll kind of dive in. We'll dive into that. Just the collaborative effort in conflict resolution. So we'll get to that.
It's important. So important. So our conventional wisdom recognizes, for example, that two heads are better than one, right? And so when we use those types of idioms, we're talking about collaborating. And collaborating is that highest level of conflict resolution, right? And so when we're talking about collaborating, if Lauren and I are collaborating on a conflict, the issues that's related to conflict, we're going to walk away from it both 100% satisfied because we worked together and we came up with it. And maybe that has been your experience. You've had conflict with somebody and you were able to, in a very mature way, sit down and work through it and do that very difficult work of having a clearing conversation where you're clearing out all the smoke. You got to clear it out. sweeping it under the rug isn't going to do it. You're saying, no, let's collaborate. We're both mature. We're emotionally mature. We're emotionally intelligent. We can collaborate. Two heads are better than one.
Can I
Sure.
interject? So you touched on it earlier, just the safe space. You kind of alluded to gaslighting. So when you are working towards a collaboration, right? When you're in collaboration with the person that you're resolving conflict with, you do want to make sure that it's fertile ground. And some of the indicators that you know that it's a safe space is the person isn't telling you, you know, who you are, what you are. They're open to hearing and receiving what you have to say, and as are you. That's just a good indicator that this actually could come to a resolution.
Oh, yes.
This could actually be a collaborative effort. So that's something that you guys, this is some more knowledge, right? If you understand, or if you feel and you'll know that the person is creating a safe space for you, then you can walk on in, because it's a safe space. If you recognize in that moment that the person, it might not be that way forever, but just in that moment to get the best results out of the situation, maybe you can reschedule the conversation or come back to it another time if you recognize it's not a safe space. So to have that, you know, to make sure that it's fertile ground, to have, to come to the resolution, you want to make sure that both parties are open. You want to make sure you're open, and you want to make sure the other party is
your
open.
heart is light as a feather, right? Like we talked about in previous episodes. Your heart is light as a feather, and you're going into it with a positive mental image.
Right.
Some of you are in relationship with people that, because of their history and their background, right? They interact and move in this world like somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong, the black or white thinking, or somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And so we wore our jerseys tonight just to say, in the A, we winning. I mean, across the board. The score can look the way it looks, but if you're a fan of the relationship, you're a fan of the connection. We're going to be connected. We're going to work through the conflict. If we have to see this again in 2 weeks, we'll revisit.
And we're on the same team.
On the same team for the same city.
Sometimes you got to remember that.
Right?
Especially when you're working through conflict with loved ones. At the end of the day, the thing that you both share is that you love each other. Right? And so even if, like you said, it looks different, let's work together to get to a place where we can both walk away feeling satisfied.
Very important. That mutual satisfaction 100% of the time. You're going to be collaborating when that happens. You might also find yourself accommodating, all right? The language there is going along to get along, or kill your enemies with kindness. You've heard the saying, accommodating. If you know the person is a I gotta win person, then you might, if that doesn't matter to you, that your name is first on that paper or second on that paper.
on the report that you're going to turn into your boss.
Or on the peer-reviewed article that you've done most of the research on. Now you might have to, you might not be able to accommodate on that.
You might have to.
Because your tenure, if you're trying to be a professor, if this thing professionally is important to you, that
or
your
if
name
you're up
is
for a
first,
promotion
right on
at
that
the office.
on that PowerPoint. You might need to have a sidebar on that one. And so we're empowering you that you have the understanding of, okay, what's warranted?
Good. This is good.
What is important for me to do? So I'm accommodating if I'm killing them with kindness, or if I'm going along to get along. I'll put it to you this way. You're compromising if you split the difference. You split the difference. So
I don't walk away with it all.
No.
Isn't that what we want in conflict sometimes? To just feel, but if the understanding is so good. I got it. This is why this is so important. Just the knowledge and the understanding that in conflict resolution, right? When you're making a collaborative effort with a person, you might not walk away feeling like somebody that just ate a full Thanksgiving meal. You might not have itis. You're not going to be sitting back. You may feel a little hurt. You may feel a little bit slighted. But it's equal, right? It's equal. We split it down the middle. And we get to where we need to get.
It's the end game.
Right. It's not all about me.
It's the long game. It's 18 holes of golf. We're doing this thing. Remember, we're on a ship.
This is good.
If it's a relationship, we're on a ship and we're trying to get to a destination for our highest good.
So it might not happen in a day.
It might not happen in a day.
It might not happen in this hour. It might not happen tomorrow.
But it'll happen, because each time, if we're splitting the difference, 50% of the time I'm feeling like, okay,
Yeah.
you listened, you care, you were present for me, you had some empathy for me. Yeah, and I don't feel pummeled. I don't feel like I have to
Invalidated.
accommodate. Yeah, every time.
Gaslit.
So we could split the difference.
Yeah, that's
we could
good.
split the difference.
That's good.
We can go 50-50. Avoiding. Sometimes there are levels to it, right? At this level, when we're avoiding, we just don't feel like it's even. You've ever had this? You ever gone to therapy and the therapist, you were talking to the therapist about what was going on, and the therapist asked you this question. I asked this question a lot. I said, well, do you think it'll make a difference if you had the conversation? And if your answer to that is, my experience with this person is telling me that it won't. Sometimes it is better to leave well enough alone.
You're absolving us.
Yeah, it's okay. And you're doing that because the past experience with that person,
right,
and the experience that you're having in the present moment is telling you that it's just going to be more of the same. I say all the time, the way people do one thing is the way they do everything.
This goes back to our mission statement, right? What our goal is with this with Wisdom Wednesday is to help you to listen to your inner guide.
Yes.
And sometimes your higher self just knows.
Yeah.
So that question was so important. Do you think it will make a difference? And sometimes we have to sit with ourselves, and it might take some time, and we want to let you know that that's okay to take that time.
Yeah.
And if you get to it, like Mom just said, and you're like, I don't think it's going to make it, trust yourself. Have you ever done that? And you know that it's not going to make a difference, and you kind of push your higher self or that inner guide to the side.
Oh, you're talking about my ego?
My ego.
Edging
this person's going to
God out.
do this, and this, and then this, and this is going to happen. So that your ego gets so loud.
Yeah.
You have the conversation, and it goes just as left as you knew it was going to go, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was important to just stop for a second and kind of go back to our mission statement, which is through the wisdom that we're offering you today and our collaborative efforts. I'm just thinking about your own experiences. This strengthens that inner guide, that inner voice for you, and you're equipped. We just want to take this time to pause to let you know.
Got it.
You got it, and you'll know. You'll know. You just have to take the time to listen. And you'll have some direction and some guidance from the things that we're sharing with you.
Yeah. The last one, and this is the fifth one, is competing. And that is the lowest level of conflict, dealing with conflict, is competing. It kind of sounds like might is right. And I'm going to control you with my anger. I'm going to make you do what I want you to do, see it the way I see it. Whether we're doing it or if we're on the other end, the receiving end of that's low vibrational. It's a low level of conflict resolution. It is the antithesis of safety, and that will leave that relationship fractured. Repair has to happen in relationships for them to continue, for them to recover from conflict.
That's important to say.
Yeah, repair has to happen. And if you're in relationship with someone that you feel like they're competing, and as I shared earlier, like it is painfully obvious that they want to. There's a new song by Burna Boy and J. Cole. Thank You is the title of it. It's my fave right now. But at the beginning of the song comes on, and it starts with like a little clip from it sounds like it's a martial arts movie, and it says, finish him. You know you're dealing with somebody that just wants to finish you.
If I had a fan, I would
finish you. They just want to finish you. Let me tell you something. They're competing with you, and you want to establish safety within yourself, and that avoidance might be where it's at to deal with it, but not unconsciously. We want to bring you to a conscious journey. We want you to know what you're doing and why, so that you don't feel ashamed or embarrassed, that you know you're doing what's in your best interest, what's best for your mental health and well-being. We've laid the groundwork for the knowledge. Now we have an understanding of why, knowing the type of conflict resolution that we're engaging is important. We want to have some wisdom. Lauren, we need some wisdom now. How are we going to deal with it?
That was great, Mom.
This is good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. And listen, make no mistake, we're learning it with you. We're practicing it with you.
Yeah.
Okay? We're doing this together. We're family. We're working on this thing together.
Absolutely. What you say? Social fitness.
Social fitness.
All right. So now we're going to get into how to resolve conflict. So we got the knowledge.
Yes.
What conflict is. We got the understanding of the different types of conflict resolution. Now we're going to talk about it. So we are going to be using DBT as a framework. I'm going to talk
DBT?
to you. Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
Dr. Lakeba and I use this in our practice. It teaches interpersonal skills to people who experience intense emotions that interfere with the quality of their relationships. What better example of that than conflict, right?
Yes.
And I at the beginning, when we use the example of familial conflict, relational conflict, there are a lot of y'all ever argued with your sibling before? There are a lot of intense emotions.
You know the buttons to push.
Oh, you know them like the back of your hand. You know
goodness.
what to say and what not to say. Shout out to my sister Caitlin. Shout out to my brother Chet. Even romantic relationships, it's the same. Just intense emotions. DBT helps you to kind of come down from that, to be present in the moment, to ground yourself, and to make smart decisions that are in the end going to benefit you and the person that you're in relationship with. So let's talk about it. When we're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, it can be really hard to access our higher self. So we want to offer this acronym to you so you can use it when you are resolving conflict with another person. The acronym is THINK. 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 So
think.
Let's start with the T. T stands for think. Consider the other person's perspective. We just want you to take some time to think about the person you're in conflict with. We're just going to stop there. The person that you're mad at, yes, we want you to think about their perspective. The person that's pissing you off, your coworker that you feel like is always invalidating you, we want you to think about their perspective. Your family member that you feel like has just been disrespecting you time and time again, we want you to think about their perspective.
You don't have to read their minds. You don't have to do the fortune telling.
No.
But just thinking about,
what does that look like? What does that look like for the people?
So what it looks like is you're observing the person and you're like, oh, if they're moving around a lot or fidgeting, pacing, then that's anger. If their tone is above 5, like 0 to 10 is about a 5, and then it starts to raise, they're angry. If they're smiling, then they're happy. So whatever it is, we're just observing.
Right.
We're observing the person. Without the story. We don't need to create
Don't make
the
it
story.
personal.
And it's not
personal.
It's them. What they got going on. That's what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You're just thinking about what's going on.
And typically, this is the T. Typically, the math will math. What does that mean? This person walks into work every day, storms in, don't say hey to nobody, slam their stuff on the desk, and slam their door. And you surprised that they have an attitude with you? Right? Thinking, right? Just observing, thinking about their perspective. They typically struggle, right? Now, is this an excuse? I tell my clients all the time, it's the difference between excuses, right? And considering the source. Excuses and context. Context helps us to think, right?
Yes.
So excuses, are going to hurt us, right? But we just want to be all of this is context, all of this is material. How might they feel in this situation and why? How might they be interpreting this situation will be helpful for you. Number 2, H, right? Think acronym. Have empathy.
Oh, empathy.
Empathy, once again, for the person that you feel like is not deserving of empathy. Well, are we God? Are we the creator? I mean, let's just really get into it, right? Even when people have done us wrong, we're equipped to still rise above it. That doesn't mean be a doormat. I'm not going to just lay out on the ground and allow you to pummel me, but I'll have empathy. All of those other emotions don't serve you. Empathy will fuel you, right? To do whatever it is that you need to do. If you've ever really stretched yourself to be empathetic in a situation that was really hurtful to you or frustrating, you almost feel like you're floating. Like you said, light as a feather. You feel so much better. Higher. You're above the situation.
Transcending.
Doesn't mean you're better, but it just means you're above.
Don't pity them. Don't have sympathy. Have empathy.
Don't have sympathy. Don't create excuses. Don't put yourself back in that situation. Don't allow the person to come back in. But you can have empathy, right? Yeah. Create space for that. Yeah. And the truth is, it's really good for you, right? Because what do we look like when we're holding all of that stuff in?
Because we know what it's like to be scared, to be frustrated. That's empathy.
Right.
It's just tapping into a time where you felt
have
that
a lot
way.
Of pressure on us.
Yeah, where you felt that way. Good job.
And then interpretations. Take some time to properly think about all of the possible reasons for the other person's behavior. These are all are intertwined, right? But think about what's going on. What might you have not considered? It causes you to have to get outside of yourself and your stuff and to just kind of be more objective in the situation, which is a great critical thinking skill, right? It'll make you a master at a lot of other things.
Self-mastery. It'll help you to master yourself as well.
Absolutely. Be mindful of your mind's tendency to catastrophize and to jump into conclusions. What does that mean? Be mindful of the tendency to want to blow this up, to make the situation bigger than it is. You're still doing everything that you need to do, right? And even if it's a big deal, it's probably not as big of a deal as we made it. That's just the truth.
Well, if the way a person does one thing, they do everything that way, or if you've seen this before, it's a perpetual issue. Who's surprised? Like you shared earlier.
Not me.
Oh, we're doing this again. That we want you to get to the point you'd be like, oh, okay. So you having some money problem. So you stressed out. So you gonna come and you picking a fight with me now. Oh, that's what we're doing. Oh, that's what this is.
Or you're bored. Oh. Some people like drama. Oh. And you're bored and nothing's going on. So you're trying to figure out
going along too well.
Things were too good. Things was it's too much. What you say? Too much like right. Everything was just too much like right.
Goodness.
Good. Thank you for that. That was good. Notice. Try to notice the other person with an open attitude during your interactions. Dr. Lakeba, Mom talks about all the time. I always go back and forth. Study a person, right? Just really allow yourself, like you said, oh, you're doing this again. Interesting choice. Interesting way to start the day. Be curious about people. Notice what they do, how they do it, right? Oh, you're raising your voice. Okay. Notice those things. It's important. Remember that our minds are prone to filtering out the positive and focusing on the negative. When you're in a space of just holding space for a person, you get to understand the positive too. When we're in high stress, this is why this is so important. You can be in a high stress situation with a person. They could be eliciting a lot of emotion from you, and you filter out all of the ways that they're trying to hold space for you in the moment as well. We do it all the time, right? If it's a safe space, if it's fertile ground and you recognize it could be a touchy subject, but you recognize you're noticing the person and you notice that they're trying to hold their composure, you notice that they're trying not to go back and forth with you, that's helpful.
Oh, it's progress.
Right, it's progress. And you want to hold space for that because it matters. You also want to notice the things that are not acceptable. So if your boundaries, go back last episode if you haven't watched it, if that person their tone is continuously getting higher and higher and higher, you notice that, then you're going to be able to interject and say, you know what? I've asked you to lower your tone in this conversation. I've noticed that continuously you haven't done that. What we're gonna have to do is take a break and we'll come back to this conversation. But I don't make it about you because it is about you. I don't feel comfortable continuing in this conversation. Have some agency over you, over your decision making skills. So notice the person throughout it. Notice the good and the bad.
That's a good segue into the K, the kindness.
Yeah.
If the person is competing and they want to finish you,
this is good.
Kindness. Be kind to yourself and tap out, because if you stay in a situation like this, because what we're sharing with you, the THINK acronym, is about, okay, how do we, what's the wisdom, how do we, being wise people, deal with conflict. Kindness is going to can put you in a situation where you get hurt if the person wants to finish you. And so being kind, being kind to a person that keeps on pummeling you and that keeps on giving you to kiss. I mean, at some point you have to get to the place of really understanding that no, this is really a pattern for that person. And I have to set some boundaries.
You're noticing it's a pattern, right? The N.
Yes, and the N is notice, and the K is kindness is warranted. When, like the example I shared, the person is trying to manage themselves better. They've gone to therapy, sat on somebody's couch, and they're trying to get themselves together. But if you see that it's more of the same and it's amping up and it's getting worse each time and they're being even more disrespectful, or maybe, it's just gotten to the place where you don't feel safe, the kindness at that point, as spiritual people, we are taught. I'm going to tell you, people that want to pummel you, they looking for spiritual people because they know you'll take it.
Empaths?
Yeah. And so watch out for that.
Yeah.
I mean, the kindest thing you can do is get on out the way. We've given you some knowledge.
Yeah.
We have laid out some understanding. That THINK acronym, just think.
Yeah. And
just think.
Just to kind of close out the acronym,
Yeah.
when you do recognize that this is a person, you notice their patterns.
Yeah.
You know that this is a person that continuously attempts to hold space for you.
Yeah.
You know that this is a person that you have a history of coming to resolve with in the past.
Collaborate with.
Even if it's not been the most beautiful journey, you're both working towards it. Yeah. Then you do want to offer that kindness to the person because they're a safe person.
Yes.
So you want to work on yourself to create that space. But also on the flip side, this is the wisdom, right? If you recognize, you notice their pattern of being invalidators or, not holding space for you, completely, throwing your boundaries to the wind, then you want to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
So you just got to recognize, ask yourself
but you're
which
being kind
is what.
to them too. Because you're being kind to them because you're not matching their energy.
Oh, you mean I'm not turning into the invalidator?
Yes.
I'm
I'm
not putting on the same cloak that they're wearing.
You're not turning up.
Right.
You're not showing
What does that look like?
Well, it looks like the person calls you, maybe it's verbal abuse, and you're called out of your name over and over again, and you just decide, oh, this is what we're doing now. It's gotten worse. It was the small little subtle little tactics where the person was invalidating you in little subtle ways. But now they've resorted or low level, demoted to this idea of calling you out of your name, just trying to push your buttons. When you decide I'm not going to match that energy, you're being kind to them.
Yeah.
Trust and believe.
Yeah, you're doing a
and
good
you're
thing.
being kind to yourself. So you're still spiritual.
Yeah.
That's why we call you good people.
Your soul is still in your body.
Come on, good people.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You will win. Learn wisdom.
Yeah.
You got some wisdom. What's the wisdom you want to offer us tonight?
The wisdom I'd like to offer you and myself and everyone else tonight is, quality relationships. Strive for quality relationships, and continue to work towards the conflict resolution in those quality relationships because they are important. When you work towards conflict resolution in quality relationships, you become a better person. The quality of your life is increased. The way that you experience people is better. The way that you see humanity is better. So do the work on the front end, and everything else will follow. This isn't easy stuff, but it'll benefit you in the long run. That's the wisdom for me.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. I'd like to add to that.
Yeah.
Wisdom is if we make a decision that this person is doing the best that they can, that's going to be to our benefit and to the person's benefit,
That's
right?
good.
They're doing the very best that they can. And if their very best is finish you, then you know what to do. Find safety. Take care of yourself. If their very best is, well, let's compromise. Let's work it out. Let's keep trying. I care about you. I apologize for raising my voice. Now that, good people, is a relationship that's worth fighting for. So until next time, we're sending you all the peace and love that we can muster.
Yeah.
And you are winning. Yeah. Peace.
This episode should not be used as a substitute for medical or mental health advice. Individuals are advised to seek independent medical advice, counseling, and/or therapy from a healthcare professional. with respect to any medical condition, mental health issue, or health inquiry, including matters discussed on this episode.